Hello everyone and welcome to the August Filet Crochet Calendar Blanket Square. We are doing a star for our August square. If you're new to this channel or this project, please be sure to check out the playlist for all things filet crochet related. I will link that down below. If you've never done filet crochet, I have a sort of a how-to on how to filet crochet. Gives you all of the important things that you need to know before you start working up one of these squares. I absolutely love how these squares work up and the possibilities are endless. So without further ado, let's jump into the August Star Filet Crochet Square tutorial. For this square, I am going to be using the loops and threads in this yellow. It is called Lemon. With that, as always, a 4.5 millimeter crochet hook. We're going to start with a slip knot on our hooks, and you're going to chain 48. Once you have 48 chains, we're going to work a double crochet into each stitch all the way back, starting with our first double crochet in the fourth chain away from your hook. So you just count 1, 2, 3, there's our fourth chain, and that will be where your first double crochet is placed, and a double crochet into each stitch all the way back down your foundation chain. At the end of row 1, you should have 46 total double crochets. If you're looking at the graph, you can see that row 1, reading right to left, is all shaded in squares, which means all blocks, which means all double crochets. For row 2, we are now reading the graph left to right. All even rows we read left to right, and all odd rows we read right to left. For row 2, and for every row, we're going to start with a chain 3 and a turn. That chain 3 counts as your first double crochet of the row, your first double crochet of the first square. For row 2, we have a shaded in square. We have one block that is equal to 4 total double crochets. We already have 1, so work a double crochet into the next 3, and that will create our first square. We have a space, and a space is a double crochet, chain 2, skip 2, double crochet in the next. Always remember that that last double crochet that you've worked from our previous square counts as the first stitch of our next following square. So that is our double crochet for the first stitch in our space. So now all we need to do is chain 2, skip 2, and double crochet into the next to create our space. We now have 11 total blocks that we need to work, so that comes out to a double crochet into the next 33 stitches. We now have a space. We already have the first stitch of our next square, which is that space, so we're just going to chain 2, skip the next 2, and double crochet into the next stitch, and that creates our space. And we're going to end with a block. We already have our first double crochet of that block. We have 3 stitches left. We're going to double crochet into each of those last 3, and your last stitch is always going to be worked into the top of your turning chain. So those chain 3s that we do to start each row counts as a double crochet. You always need to remember to work into them. At the end, it counts as a stitch. And that is row 2. Row 3, we're starting with a chain 3 and turn. Row 3, reading right to left, all shaded in, all double crochet. So you're going to work a double crochet into the next stitch and into each stitch all the way down for row 3. And looking at the graph, reading left to right, again, all shaded in squares, all blocks, all double crochets. So rows 3 and 4 are just chain 3, turn, and working a double crochet into each stitch all the way across. So I'm going to work these 2 rows, and I will meet you back here for row 5. For row 5, we're reading right to left now. We're going to work a block and a space, 11 blocks, a space, and a block. So this row essentially is the same as row 2. Even though it's an odd row and row 2 is even row, the blocks and spaces are the same for both rows. So repeat row 2. For row 6, we are reading left to right. We have 2 blocks, 3 spaces, 5 blocks, 3 spaces, ending with 2 blocks. So as always, we're going to chain 3 and turn, and we're going to work a double crochet into the next 6 for our first 2 blocks. And I like to work my double crochets into the actual stitches over those spaces. But if you find that difficult to do, you can always work 2 double crochets into that chain 2 space. But working into the actual chains will just make them a little bit more straight on with those stitches. So we have our 2 blocks. We need 3 spaces. So we're going to chain 2, skip 2, double crochet in the next 3 times. So there's 1, 2, and 3. So now we've got our 3 spaces. We're going to work a double crochet over the next 15 to create those 5 blocks. So I'm going to work a double crochet into the next 15. Next we're going to work 3 spaces. So we're going to chain 2, skip 2, double crochet in the next 3 times. And there are our 3 spaces for the other end. You should have 6 total stitches left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in the turning chain. So we're going to work a double crochet into those last 6 stitches to create our 2 blocks on the end. And that will finish up row 6. For row 7, we're reading right to left now. We have 3 blocks, 4 spaces, 1 block, 4 spaces, ending with 3 blocks. So we're going to chain 3 and turn. We're going to work a double crochet over the next 9 stitches to create our first 3 blocks. We now need 4 spaces, so chain 2, skip 2, double crochet in the next 4 times. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now we need a block, so we're going to work a double crochet over the next 3. And there's our block. We need 4 spaces on the other end, so we're going to chain 2, skip 2, double crochet in the next 4 times. For our 4 spaces on that end, you should have 9 stitches left. We're working 3 blocks into those last stitches, so a double crochet into the next 9 to finish row 7. For row 8, chain 3, turn, and this is where it gets fairly easy because we are now just working spaces in the middle of our square to create our star. So you're only going to have the double crochet stitches, the blocks on the end around our star. In the middle we're going to have all of these chain 2, skip 2, double crochet in the next spaces, so it works up much quicker than the double crochet rows. So for row 8, we're reading left to right. We have 3 blocks, 9 spaces, ending with 3 blocks. So work a double crochet into the next 9. And now we're going to work our 9 spaces. So you would just chain 2, skip 2, double crochet in the next, a total of 9 times, all the way across. When you get back here after your 9 spaces, you should have 9 stitches left. Work a double crochet into those last 9 to complete your end 3 blocks. And this is row 8. So you can see the fabric is starting to match our graph, and we're going to work in this way, working those blocks on the end, our spaces in the center to create that star, and blocks on the opposite end to sort of border that star shape. So for rows 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17, just follow the graph. If you're interested in a written pattern, I will have a written pattern for this, as I do for all of our crochet along filet crochet squares on Etsy, and I will link that in the description box if you would find that more helpful. But as far as this tutorial, just follow the graph, working however many blocks to start, working the number of spaces in the middle, and ending with the number of blocks on each end, and you will create that nice star shape. I will work this up off camera, and I will meet you back here around row 17, row 18 to finish off this square for August. I've worked up through row 17. You can see I've got that last little space right on top that it sits dead center of row 17. For row 18, we're now on the finishing edging kind of rows. We're going to chain 3 and turn as always. And again, we're going to work in the same way as we've been doing. So we have 2 blocks. We're reading left to right because this is an even row. 2 blocks, 1 space, 9 blocks, 1 space, ending with 2 blocks. So I'm going to work a double crochet in the next 6. I'm going to work my space, chain 2, skip 2, double crochet in the next, and a double crochet over the next 27. After I work my double crochets, I'm going to work a space, ending with 2 blocks So a double crochet in the last 6 stitches. And this will be row number 18. For row 19, we're just going to be repeating row 2, and for row 20, all shaded in squares, all double crochets, all blocks, to finish up this square for August. So I'm going to go ahead, work those last 3 rows, and when I come back, I will show you what this square looks like. I am just finishing up my last few stitches on row 20, and let's take a look. There is our August Filet Crochet Star Square. I really like how this one came out. You can really see that star pattern form and take shape by working those spaces in the center of our fabric. And we've got our nice border double crochet blocks around it. I hope you enjoy these squares as much as I do. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in September. Bye everyone.